You see what I'm doing? Like just like stopping in the moment, forgetting time, and just, you know what I mean?
Just be careful when you're practicing while you're doing the breakdown. Do not keep the fader hand on the fader while you're doing the breakdown. It has to get back to the right and rewind while you're finishing the pattern, or else you won't be able to loop it.
And that's happening with the right. I'm holding too much on my right hand, right?
Yeah, right now it's the right.
For now, yeah.
But if you flip the pattern around, it'd be your left.
Now, when you, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but when you take this pattern, do you have a turnaround for this to make it a figure eight?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I have multiple variations of this pattern, and the move that I created that Shortcut was trying to learn, like the variant of this move is inverted. So I have a version of this pattern that I taught you that is a figure eight. And Shortcut was trying to figure out how to do it, but couldn't. He kept moving forward. He couldn't figure out how to like loop the pattern and come back around. And that's why I always tell that story, because in his inability to invert the pattern and invert it, he stumbled across a new way of doing the pattern,
where he made it linear.
He just made it linear, right? Because he couldn't rewind it. He kept getting confused. Similar to what's happening with you here. Like, you stop and you're like, fuck, how is he doing that? But luckily, Brett Maddock was next to him and was like, yo, all right, we're not figuring out how to do it Rob's way, but are you hearing your way? Like, are you hearing what you're doing? He's like, yo, don't forget about Rob's way. Just do it the way you're doing it now.
Yeah, we can call him later. Yeah,
right, exactly. Right. So, so yes, there's a version of it that inverts, but I never teach it unless you text me or email me or call me or ask me, hey, can you teach me how to invert the pattern? I won't teach it, because this is where we're at the fifth root movement, and we're at a point now where you're understanding how to move. Like how many hours do we have left? Is it 2?
This is our third one, so we have 2 more for now. Yeah.
We have 2 hours left. In 3 hours, you made it to the fifth root move, which is really good. Most students on the average take 5 hours to learn 5 root movements. You learn 5 root movements in 3 hours. So that tells me that you're starting to develop a beat juggling IQ of sorts. And we're at a point now where I have to be careful about how I teach you, because I don't want you to become too dependent on me. What happens? What happens a lot of times with students is they start to get. Speaking of patterns, they fall into the pattern of, yo, what's the next move? Yo, teach me the next move, instead of figuring out a move of their own. And that's why I use my little anecdotes of like how Shortcut developed the chase pattern, how I developed the swing pattern. I developed the swing pattern because Dr. Butcher was like, yo, all you do is bite Aladdin. Like, and Steve, like, Rob, you got to be creative with the stuff. Like, you got to, okay, you know how to do their move, but how are you making their move yours? So he pushed.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, there's no reason why I can't get comfortable with this and be like, well, it's not that I don't like Rob, but fuck it, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
Not just figure it out. It out. I'm gonna do it better than Rob. I'm gonna.
I don't know about that yet.
Yeah. Like Rob. Okay, Rob's doing this. I could one up him. I'm gonna do it better. I'm gonna now add this fill and go to this snare and make it sound better, and then show it to him. Like that is what I want my students to do. I teach these moves because you have to understand the alphabet, how the words work. Okay, if I take 3 letters, bat, if I take 3 letters, B-A-T, I could form the word bat. But am I just going to use the word bat every time I speak? No. I could take...
Could I do TBA? Could I do TAB? Could I do...
TAB, right, exactly, right. To be announced, you're taking the letters and making it into an abbreviation. Or I'm taking the word bat and turning it into tab. Same letters, I'm just rearranging the words. Swing pattern, same moves, I'm just rearranging them. Shortcut took my move and rearranged it and made the pattern made the pattern work linearly. So that's what you got to do, dude. So I'm not saying that because I feel like I'm worried about you. I know how your brain works, and I know that when you practice, you do practice with the intent of like seeing where else you take the patterns. But I'm just taking the moment out here to remind you, and even remind myself that I have other variations of the pattern. Yes, I have a variation of the pattern that I invert. Yes, I never teach it because I want my students to stumble across it on their own or not become dependent on me always teaching them a move, because then the relationship between you and I is I'm holding your hand every time and you're not thinking, well, fuck, I'm going to go left field now on this move. And I don't want to ever reinforce that. But if you do want me to sit you down and teach you how I inverted it, by all means, I will. Like, I have no problem doing that. But it's like I'm strategic about what I teach and what I don't teach.
You know? You really are. I mean, like, I've only seen these 5, but like when I learn them, I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm just getting information. But like when I look at the third one, I go back to the first one and I go, I know why he put that one there. Because you need this technique for this or whatever. Like Rock the Bells, immediately when I was watching you, and you were teaching like some amazing learner, like he was so damn fast. But I'm watching you and I'm like, he's teaching this now because that's what it's all about. Exactly. He's not going to say it, but that's what it's all about right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And now, like, I look at this, and I mean, my brain is catching up a little faster than my hands are, which is it's going to make me chattier and less efficient. But like, I'm like, oh, it's a breakdown pattern. But imagine teaching the breakdown pattern right now in the middle of that beat. That'd be fucking miserable.
It'd be a mind fuck. Your head will explode. You know. Yeah. So right. And that's why I call what I teach root movements. It's every beat juggle that you see in a DMC on IG from a master like Craze, Mista Sinista, Total Eclipse, Manwell, myself. All of our moves are rooted in these 10 moves that I teach my students. It's just that each DJ has their own unique way of interpreting the movements.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out your own unique way, if you want to stand out, of articulating the 10 root moves. So the most complex, technical, crazy sounding juggle at the end of the day might be a 16th note drop here, quarter note fill here with a scribble scratch. It's all root moves. That's all it is. You just have to figure out your own way to like solve the riddle, and take the move and do something that hasn't been done. And believe it or not, as many masters exist, there's still room for a gazillion more masters. This art has no limit to it. So you have to practice with the mentality of, okay, fuck, this style of juggling is 30 plus years old, but I'm not going to let that stop me from seeing if I can make it different and add on to the text that already exists.